The Caprese salad is one of the world's simplest, most perfect foods. Juicy, best of the season tomatoes, creamy mozzarella, fresh basil, all married together with salt, pepper, and a little bit of really good extra virgin olive oil. At least that's what Caprese salad should be, but let's face it, most of the time that's not what you're gonna get. Here's how you make a perfectly simple and seasonal Caprese salad the way it was meant to be enjoyed.
Rule number 1, use excellent tomatoes. This is the first and most unbreakable rule. If you're making this salad any time of year other than peak tomato season, you're already off to a bad start. You don't go skiing in the summer and you don't go apple picking in the spring, so why the heck would you make a Caprese salad during the off season? Look for juicy tomatoes in your local farmer's market, or even better, in your own backyard. If you absolutely must make a Caprese during the off-season, I'd recommend using cherry or grape tomatoes, as they're typically allowed to ripen much further on the vine before picking than a big beefsteak is. To keep things interesting, I use a big mix of different types of tomatoes. Cherries, beefsteaks, red ones, green ones, orange ones, yellow ones. I also like to cut them up into different shapes. Thick wedges, fat slices, and little nuggets to mix it all up. Arrange those tomatoes in a single layer on a large plate, then move on. Rule number 2, use excellent mozzarella. There are a few forms of mozzarella, and what you're looking for here is fresh, water-packed mozzarella. If you have a local dairy that makes their own, then that's your best option. If you can find water-packed buffalo mozzarella, that's another good choice. But if all you can get is water-packed cow's milk mozzarella, that'll do just fine. What you really want to avoid is the cryovac-packed stuff, which doesn't have the freshness or moisture that we're after here. Tear the mozzarella up into chunks and tuck it around the tomatoes. Artfully, like you give a damn. Rule number 3, use excellent olive oil. These days there's just no excuse for using flavorless oil anymore. You can find decent extra virgin olive oil at pretty much any supermarket in the country. No, it doesn't have to be imported direct from Italy. No, it doesn't have to cost $30 a liter, but yes, it needs to be extra virgin, and yes, it needs to taste good. Splurge a little bit, and your mouth is going to thank you after it's done eating. Once the tomatoes and mozzarella are arranged, give the whole plate a generous drizzle of that good stuff. Rule number 4, season it well. So far we've got 2 soft ingredients drizzled with a liquid. We need a little crunch, and that's where the salt comes in. Caprese is one of those situations where you're really going to want to pull out the fancy stuff, and I'm talking that sea salt with the big crunchy crystals that offer not just flavor boosts, but texture as well. And remember, salt is not just a flavor in itself, it's a flavor enhancer. A salted tomato is going to end up tasting more like a tomato than an unsalted tomato one will. A grinding of coarse black pepper is the only other thing the salad needs. Rule number 5, use excellent basil. This is the easiest job you have to do. Look for bright green, fresh basil leaves, then tear them up and sprinkle them on top of the salad. Done. Rule number 6, don't f with it. And now we get to the most important rule of all. With most recipes, once you've gathered the ingredients, you're ready to begin cooking. With a Caprese salad, you're done. The less cooking you do, the better. In fact, the less thought you put into it, the better. Leave the vinegar and the pesto alone. If you've followed all the rules this far, there's no need for them. The tomatoes are good enough on their own that the only thing vinegar can do is distract from their awesomeness. Your salad doesn't need it, you don't need it, and your guests definitely don't need it. Get it on a plate and get it to the table. Preferably an outdoor table. With lots of wine.